Hello friends, I hope you are all fine. Today is a story about a man with two lives. It is Ambrose Bier's story. So let's start. Here's the quiet story of David William Duck. Related by himself, Duck is an old man living in Illinois where he is universally respected. He is a commonly known, however, as Dead Duck. In the autumn of 1866, I was a private soldier of the 18th Infantry. My company one of the station at Fort Phil Kearny, commanded by Colonel Carrington. The country is more or less familiar with the history of that garrison, particularly with the slaughter by the shoe of detachment of 81 men and officer, not one escaping through disobedience of order by its commander, the brave but reckless Captain Fetterman. When that occurred, I was trying to make way with important dispatches to Fort C.F. Smith on the Big Horn. As the country swarmed with the hostile Indians, I traveled by night and concealed myself as best I could before daybreak. The better to do so, I went ever armed with a Henry rifle and carrying 3 days' rations in my haversack. For my second place of concealment, I chose what seemed in the darkness a narrow canal leading through a range of rocky hills. It contained many large boulders detached from the slope of the hills. Behind one of these, in a clump of sagebrush, I made my bed for the day and soon fell asleep. It seemed as I had hardly closed my eyes, though in fact it was near midday, when I was awakened by the report of a rifle, the bullet striking the border just above my body. A band of Indians had trailed me and had me nearly surrounded. The shot had been fired with an scrabble aim by a fellow who had caught sight of me from the hillside above. The smoke of his rifle betrayed him, and I was no sooner on my feet than he was off his and rolling down the declivity. Then I ran in a stopping posture, dodging among the clumps of sagebrush in a storm of bullets from invisible enemies, which I thought rather queer, for they must have known by my trail that they had a deal with only one man. The reason for their inaction was soon made clear. I had not gone 100 yards before I reached the limit of my run, the head of the gulch, which I had mistaken for a cannon. It terminated in a concave breast of rock, nearly vertical and destitute of vegetation. In that cul-de-sac, I was caught like a bear in a pen. Pursuit was needless. They had only to wait. They waited for 2 days and nights, crouching behind a rock top with a growth of mesquite, and with the cliff of at my back, suffering agonies of thirst and absolutely hopeless of deliverance. I fought the fellows at long range, firing occasionally at the smoke of their rifles as they did at that of mine. Of course, I did not dare to close my eyes at night, and lack of sleep was a keen torture. I remember the morning of the third day, which I knew was be my last. I remember rather indistinctly that in my desperation and delirium, I sprang out into the open and began firing, repeating fire rifle without seeing anybody to fire it. And I remember no one more that fight. The next thing that I recollected was my pulling myself out of a river just at nightfall. I had not a rage of clothing and knew nothing of my whereabouts. But all that night I traveled cold and fought short toward the north. At daybreak, I found myself at Fort C.F. Smith, my destination, but without my dispatches. The first man that I met was a sergeant named William Briscoe, who I knew very well. You can fancy his astonishment at seeing me in that condition, and my own at his asking who the devil I was. Devduck, I answered. Who I should? He started like an owl. You do look it, he said, and observed that he drew a little away from me. What's up? He added. I told him what had happened to me the day before. He heard me through still staring. Then he said, my dear fellow, if you are Devduck, I would to inform you that I buried you 2 months ago. I was out with a small scouting party and found your body full of bullet holes and newly scalpel, somewhat multiless. Otherwise, too, I am sorry to say, right where you say made you fight, come to my tent, and I will show you your clothing and some letters that I took from your person. The commandant has your dispatches. He performed that promise. He showed me the clothing which I resolutely put, the letters which I put into my pocket. He made no objection, then took me to the commandant, who heard my story and coldly ordered Briscoe to take me to the guardhouse. On the way, I said, Bill Briscoe, did you really and truly bury the dead body of that found in these stocks? Sure, he answered, just as I told you. It was Devduck. All right, most of the knew him, and now you damned impostor. You would better tell me who you are. I would give something to you, I said. A week later, I escaped from the guardhouse and got out of the country as fast as I could. Twice I have been back seeking for that fateful spot in the hills, but unable to find it. Thanks for watching.